Like say they are confused by the new proposed district borders. Listen as the Districting Commission's president explains how the new lines will affect Council District 4.
So in terms of Council District 4, this was changed based on public testimony to have only one council district straddle Mulholland Drive. The district loses Hancock Park, Larchmont Village, and the Miracle Mile, and gains Beverly Crest, Sherman Oaks, Encino, some of Van Nuys, and some of Lake Balboa.
This public input meeting held at the Wilshire Ebell Theater was the first of 7 held after the commission released its proposed map.
Sunset Square is above Sunset between Fairfax and La Brea. Spalding Square is below Sunset, and you have cut us in half. We are one neighborhood. We have the same problems.
We don't understand, however, why you have put so much area to the north and west into CD4. We don't feel that we have anything in common with Sherman Oaks, Encino, Van Nuys, Lake Balboa.
Residents of Koreatown, a community currently divided among 4 council districts, would be split between districts 10 and 13. Residents are asking for Koreatown to be kept whole.
These are the people who needed the translation devices, but you don't have them. We requested it. This is why it's so important for our community to be kept in one council district. There are special needs for Koreatown.
More than 200 residents spoke at the meeting. The commission will finalize its map by March 1st. The City Council will have until July 1st to adopt the final map. For more information on this process, go to redistricting2011.lacity.org. City leaders and police are offering a $50,000 reward for the arrest and conviction of 3 suspects in a brutal homicide of a Garment District shopkeeper. Here's Anna Marcos with surveillance tape shot just before the crime.
It was supposed to be just another day of opening up for business. 75-year-old Min Yin opened the doors to the Joy and Lewis Corporation in the Garment District. What he didn't know was suspects outside were waiting. One of them walked in. Then 2 more suspects forced themselves inside. A few minutes later, Mr. Yin lay stabbed and dying, and the suspects had escaped.
He was by himself, and he got rushed, bum rushed, as they say, by one individual, and then others came in, and they stabbed him and killed him.
Every murder is important to us. This particular murder is particularly troublesome because of its nature. The individual, a senior member of our community at 75 years old, he's working, it's daytime, and he's assaulted.
Mr. Yin hung on for 2.5 months before dying of his injuries. With the suspect still at large, city leaders are offering a $50,000 reward for information that leads to their capture and conviction. Shopkeepers in this part of the Garment District say this is normally a safe area with hard-working, industrious shopkeepers who open up shop early and then go home by 5. So the stabbing of Mr. Yin came as a shock.
I mean, I came in early that morning. I opened up. I didn't see anything going on unusual there. And then about an hour later, the police were here, and then everybody was, gathered around, and they asked me what I seen. Unfortunately, I didn't see anything or anybody or hear anything.
I believe that the motive for the incident is robbery. Target being probably the clothing that was inside.
Police say no merchandise was stolen during the homicide, but they're hoping the public can help them solve the crime. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
Here again are the composites for the suspects who are Hispanic. Suspect 1 is 6 feet, 180 pounds, in his late 40s with dark hair and eyes. Suspect 2 is 5'4", heavyset, early 20s with a dark complexion and a tattoo on the left side of his neck. Suspect 3 is 5'5", about 200 pounds, early to mid-30s, and was last seen wearing a striped shirt. A tree here in the community of Little Tokyo isn't just a tree. In fact, it embodies so much history for the Japanese American community that it was designated an LA Historic Cultural Monument in 2008. And now, almost 4 years later, a plaque tells the story of that history. This tree is no ordinary fig tree. In fact, the 60-foot-tall Moreton Bay fig tree tells an important story of the early Japanese American community in Little Tokyo. The tree was dubbed the Aoyama tree in 2007 after Reverend Shutai Aoyama, who founded the Koyasan Daiichi Mission on Commercial Street in Little Tokyo in 1912. When the mission relocated in 1920 to the site of what is now the campus of the Japanese American National Museum on North Central Avenue, the tree was there to welcome worshipers.
It's a famous photo of Reverend Aoyama standing by this tree when this tree was probably about 8 feet tall, and I think it was about this big around. And now, if you look at the size of it, it's huge.
And the tree would be 101, right?
Well, no, it would be a little more, because when we came to the building in 1920, it was already here, but it was a pretty small tree.
And as you can see, it is a living, breathing monument. It is a sentient, living entity here in Little Tokyo.
While the tree was designated Los Angeles Historic Cultural Monument number 920 in 2008, the unveiling of the plaque this month, heralding that designation, continues the community's effort to hold on to its rich cultural heritage. A Buddhist ritual rite helped mark the momentous occasion.
I think it stands as a symbolic manifestation of the strength, the endurance, and the significance of the Little Tokyo community to not only Los Angeles, but to our entire country.
While the mission left the tree behind when it moved again in 1940 to its present location at 342 East 1st Street and changed its name to the Koyasan Buddhist Temple. In the decades since, the tree has weathered the changes around her, continuing to symbolize the cultural heritage of LA's Japanese American community, well beyond Little Tokyo. And in the news is another LA historic cultural landmark, Monument 523. The United Artists Theater building, built for stars of the silent screen, will soon be converted into a hotel. As Gil Reyes reports, the United Artists building becomes the latest in an effort to bring back Broadway.
On the corner of Broadway and Olympic stands the old abandoned United Artists Theater. But this former movie house and church won't be empty for long. Moving in is Ace Hotel, a hotel chain based in Portland, Oregon that's said to cater to the young and hip.
This is a boutique hotel that has a brand name. People know it, and it's a very unique and perfect fit for Broadway.
Ace Hotel has teamed with Greenfield Partners for the $11 million upgrade. Plans call for a 180-room hotel spread out over 13 floors, also a pool, a restaurant, and a bar. There is also a plan to renovate the theater inside as part of the hotel deal. Originally built in 1927 to accommodate movie star Mary Pickford's production company, this new theater will hold 1,600 seats. Located in Broadway's Theater District, Ace Hotel will sit along the path of a proposed downtown LA streetcar, expected to open within 3 years. It's all part of Councilman Jose Huizar's Bringing Back Broadway plan, restoring this corridor of abandoned buildings to make room for new businesses. They include Two Booths Pizza and Unamikatessen, both set to open within weeks. Also in the works is a new Ross Dress for Less store here at the old Woolworth building, set to open next year.
As more and more businesses come to Broadway, they're recognizing, they're saying, well, we see the initiative, we see that the city is finally investing in one of your beautiful jewels in the city of Los Angeles. Better streets, better transportation, better infrastructure, and that is, I think, attracting businesses to Broadway.
With more announced features for Bringing Back Broadway coming soon. Stay tuned. In downtown LA, Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
The hotel theater renovation is expected to create hundreds of jobs. No completion date yet for the project. And another piece of the Bringing Back Broadway plan is Clifton's Cafeteria, which recently had its long-hidden historic facade revealed. Anita Bennett reports.
After more than 50 years under wraps, the original front of Clifton's Cafeteria has been uncovered.
It sends a huge message that we are moving forward with preserving what's on this corridor, but as well that we're opening up businesses and improving businesses.
As crowds gathered outside Clifton's for the big reveal, the new owner said he decided to remove the metal grates added decades ago to modernize the building and give it a brand new look. The renovation is part of Councilman Huizar's 10-year plan to bring this neighborhood back to its glory days.
Unveiling the historic facade is important because bringing back Broadway is not necessarily just about bringing back buildings and bringing back restaurants and businesses. It's about bringing back the spirit of Broadway.
Clifton's opened in the 1930s and has remained a popular landmark ever since.
Many people remember this place. Many people ate here, their parents, their grandparents. When they see this new facade that has been preserved and redone and that they could now come back and visit once again, it's going to add a lot more synergy and activity on this block.
But the eatery closed a few months ago for a makeover, which is expected to create many jobs.
The expectation is overall 100 jobs of creation. A lot of them will come from within the community. We work very closely with the Midnight Mission, and they have a restaurant training program, and we're very much involved with that.
They're renovating this restaurant from the inside out, a process that's expected to take about a year, and this restaurant will open to the public sometime in 2013. Reporting in downtown Los Angeles, I'm Anita Bennett for LA This Week.
Clifton's is the only business that has survived in its original form on Broadway since the golden era. Ultimately, owner Andrew Mirren intends to have Clifton's designated also as a Los Angeles Historic Cultural Monument. The quality of life just shot up for hundreds of South LA residents who have moved into the Crossings at 29th Street, a new state-of-the-art housing complex. Anna Marcos shows us just how much the move means to some residents.
1, 2, 3.
It's a long way to go from living in a garage near a sewer full of rats to living at the Crossings at 29th Street. For Ribaldo Herrera and his family, that move has made all the difference. They are among the first families to move into the affordable housing development in South LA, and sometimes words just don't seem enough.
To me, being here is very special. I'm very glad to be here.
It's okay. It's all right. Just take a moment.
This first phase of the Crossings at 29th Street provides more than 550 eco-friendly units for lower-income families who can either rent or own. There's a community room, space to enjoy the outdoors, and even a computer room where kids like Ribaldo can learn. The site was built on what was once an industrial block.
It means a rebirth of this neighborhood, this community, this block. This was a former site of a plating company that was making people sick. We had cancer clusters over here.
This project here is exactly the kind of change in the community that we need to continue on.
Children from the nearby 28th Street Elementary School helped design some of the artwork mosaic tiles. A later phase of the project will see a park or other outdoor space put in. But for now, just a safe, clean place to call home. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
The project was a joint effort by the LA Housing Department, the Community Redevelopment Agency, Councilmember Jan Perry's office, and the community at large. The Battle of the Badges blood drive, a drought-resistant lawn for City Hall, and routes announced for the next Ciclavia event. These stories and more in City Beat. The 6th annual Red Cross Battle of the Badges blood drive pitted LA's men and women in blue against the city's firefighters in a friendly competition to see which department can donate the most blood. The blood drive was held at the LAPD Academy in Elysian Park.
So far, the turnout has been great, actually. The lines are so long, we're going to have to reschedule some people and have them return to a later time or a different facility.
The Battle of the Badges campaign ends on February 18th with the final tally to be announced in March. There may just be a silver lining to the destruction caused last fall to the City Hall lawn by the Occupy LA encampment. The Los Angeles City Council has approved a plan to restore the 1.7-acre park surrounding City Hall that would save the city about $2,000 per year in water costs. The estimated $390,000 landscape design calls for a little more than half of the grass to be substituted by native plants or a gravel-like surface. However, the lawn will cost more annually to maintain than the current lawn. The city plans to begin work on the new landscape immediately. LA's next car-free street closure event for cyclists, skaters, and pedestrians, or Ciclavia, takes place on April 15th. 10 miles of roadways will temporarily close to traffic for this fourth Ciclavia, which will expand to include the Central Boyle Heights to East Hollywood route, plus the original route through East Hollywood, Koreatown, Westlake, downtown LA, and Little Tokyo. For more information, go to ciclavia.org. USS Lane Victory, seen here at its former berth, berth 94 at the cruise ship promenade, has relocated to berth 46 just south of Cabrillo Marina, where it will remain for approximately 9 months. The move is being made to accommodate construction and wharf expansion at the nearby berth. Built in Los Angeles in 1945, the SS Lane Victory served with distinction during World War II, the Korean War, and the Vietnam War. Now a nationally recognized historic landmark, the SS Lane Victory now serves as a museum. And we'll have more information later in the Things to Do segment on how you can take a ride to Catalina on the SS Lane Victory. LA's African American history reaches back hundreds of years. A yearly celebration at City Hall recalls and honors that proud heritage. Here's Rich Samuels.
Where we sat down.
The mayor and the Los Angeles City Council recently celebrated the beginning of African American Heritage Month. This year's theme, Stepping Back into the Future.
It's important in this town that we all acknowledge that we're better for the diversity that we revel in.
Each Heritage Month celebration is also an opportunity to recognize those individuals that have made especially notable contributions to the city of Los Angeles. This year's Spirit of Los Angeles Award was presented to Cheryl Lee Ralph, an actress, singer, and activist, especially in HIV/AIDS education and awareness.
I am so happy to call Los Angeles my home, and I will continue to carry on with the spirit of Los Angeles. Thank you.
Walter Mosley received the Dream of Los Angeles Award. He's a best-selling author of 38 books, ranging from crime novels to nonfiction, political essays, science fiction, and young adult.
For Los Angelinos, any goal is achievable. We live side by side with the sky and sea, speak innumerable languages, have created an Eden out of the desert, grew from a population of 200,000 to tens of millions. And all of that was before breakfast.
Dr. Keith L. Black is a world-renowned neurosurgeon and scientist, currently serving as chairman and professor of the Department of Neurosurgery and director of the Maxine Dunitz Neurological Institute at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. This year, he was the recipient of the Hope of Los Angeles Award.
I, too, have hope, with the expect and confidence that our mayor and our city council and our leaders and we collectively will continue to make Los Angeles an even better place for the generations to come.
Following the city council ceremony, the mayor and his honored guests headed outside and across the street to Fletcher Bowen Square, where the festivities continued. From downtown Los Angeles, I'm Rich Samuels for LA This Week.
And in this week's list of things to do, a ride to Catalina on a historic vessel, celebrating the first American to orbit Earth, and a year-round farmers market. After its move from berth 94 to berth 46 at the Port of Los Angeles, the SS Lane Victory Museum reopens to the public on Monday, February 13th. Berth 46 is located south of the intersection at 22nd and Minor Streets. Regular hours of the SS Lane Victory Merchant Marine Museum and Memorial are from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. daily. Admission is $5 for adults and $2 for children. The SS Lane Victory also makes day trips to Catalina Island on select Saturdays during the summer. The first cruise date will be July 28th. More information on the cruise and the museum can be found at lanevictory.org. The Griffith Observatory celebrates the 50th anniversary of the historic flight of the first American to orbit Earth in 1962. On Sunday, February 19th, Griffith Observatory will commemorate the anniversary of the flight of Friendship 7, in which John Glenn became the first American to orbit the Earth, with 2 free lectures, one at 4 and one at 6:30 p.m. Astronomical observer Anthony Cook will present the lectures in the Leonard Nimoy Event Horizon Theater. For more info, go to griffithobs.org. While some farmers markets are closed during the winter, the Encino Farmers Market stays open year-round, so you can find those delicious items that are in season during the winter, such as mushrooms, clementines, and root vegetables. The Encino Farmers Market is open every Sunday from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. at One Generation Center at 17400 Victory Boulevard, Lake Balboa. And remember, you can find this information on our Facebook page. And that's a look at some upcoming things to do. And that's going to do it for this edition. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ellen Chang. A reminder that you could catch us online at lacityview.org. You can also follow us on Facebook for stories you might have missed. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
An emergency can happen at any time.
Earthquake!
That's why you need to be prepared. Put together an emergency kit with food, water, a first aid kit, a flashlight, radio, and some tools.
I can't believe it, it's an earthquake!
You're never too old to prepare.
Ah, get out of there!
Get the message? Be prepared.
Get out of the house!
G'day, Troy McCubbin from North Hollywood. You're watching LA City View, Channel 35, our city, our channel.
Sergeants, call the members. It's 10 o'clock. Get some members here. Thank you. Thank you for being here and being on time. Mr. Garcetti. like Mr. Garcetti. Good morning. I want to welcome everybody to today's council meeting. Welcome you to City Hall. We meet every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. We welcome the public. All of our meetings and committee hearings are open, and you are all welcome to come down. My name is Herb Wesson. I'm the president of the Los Angeles City Council. What we're going to do is we're going to start with the presentation section of today's event, and I'm going to ask Council Member Eric Garcetti if he's ready for his presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, Eric Garcetti.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. A very good morning to you and to the entire City Council and to the City of Los Angeles. It is a very proud day for all of us here, a day not only in which Joe Buscaino gets his first fire hat as a former police officer, but more importantly, a day in which we mark a decade of incredible service to our community through the Cash for College program, which launched 10 years ago as the Free Cash for College program. The cash is still free, but it's been rebranded since. It's not free in the sense that people just hand it out, but we connect young people here in this city with success and with their future. And our former Deputy Mayor, Joy Chen, is here with us. David Rattray, our Senior Vice President from the LA Chamber of Commerce. We've got Daniel De Vista, Chancellor of Los Angeles Community College. So many people who have been a part of making this what I think is now the largest college scholarship fair in the country. 10 years that we have connected volunteers and schools and colleges with the great young people here in Los Angeles. We identified a decade ago that one of the problems we had here was not that people didn't want to go to college, not that there wasn't an expectation and a hope by parents that their children would go to college, but that they simply weren't getting to college. And when we tried to figure out why that was, we looked closely and we realized that many families didn't have the experience, didn't have the know-how of how to fill out some of the forms to make sure that the money that was available for young people to attend college and to make it affordable was brought to them. And we set out to change that. Today, thousands of students and their families access federal, state, and other college financial aid through Cash for College. And its vision is to continue raising the profile of the campaign, celebrating our successes, and awarding scholarships as a strategy to increase the number of LA students who are prepared to enter college and eager to pursue high-wage, high-skill career of choice that contributes to the health of the regional economy. I can remember our first press conferences in which we had bags of fake cash there, but we would ask any group of young people, which I still do today, 10 years later, who wants $1 million? And every hand shoots up. Because for a young person, the difference in what you'll earn in your lifetime, whether you go to college or not, is $1 million of difference. So if you want $1 million more, we say, go to college. Let us help you fill out the FAFSA forms. And each one of these council districts and offices and state assembly offices and state senators and members of Congress now help us do these college scholarship fairs and workshop sessions to make sure that our young people connect with college. And we made sure that we did research to see what sort of results we have yielded. So let me turn it over now to David Rattray, who is one of our great leaders in the city, one of these unsung heroes that the average Angelino probably has never heard of, but that has probably touched the lives of more Los Angeles families than anybody I know, who's done extraordinary work at the Chamber of Commerce and as their Senior Vice President working on workforce and education initiatives. Please welcome on our 10-year anniversary, David Rattray. Hug it out.
Thank you, Council Member Garcetti, and thank you, Council members. First of all, let me just say that this city, this council, this mayor, the previous mayor, so many kids owe you such a debt of gratitude because you've been a partner with us from the very first Cash for College event we put on. Joy Chen, who's here, that was the deputy mayor and was a leading inspiration with Mayor Han. But every step of the way, every one of you and some of your other former colleagues were with us. We're most importantly with these kids. I want to take you back for a minute and ask you to imagine something. Put yourself maybe that you're standing in the center of the Coliseum right now. If you're a Bruin fan, maybe you can say it's in the Rose Bowl. Put yourself in one of those stadiums and pretend like you're looking around the stadium and every single seat is full. And it's full with kids that range from 18 to 28 years old. That's how many young students we have touched and helped move them onto a life of success. Because we've served over 167,000 young people in the convention and the workshops over these 10 years, which would really be almost 2 stadiums. So that's big, right? That's a lot of young people. And of course, it does start to feel like just nameless faces when I say numbers like this. So I wanted, if you'll let me, to just read you a letter from one of our students that came to one of these. And I want you to think of this as your daughter or your nephew. These are the children. These are the students. Dear Miss Salazar, when they were naming the scholarship, to tell you the truth, I wasn't really paying attention because I didn't really think I would get it. But once I heard my name, it was as if my heart skipped 2 or 3 beats. I didn't know what to do, but to walk up there and receive my award. As I was walking back to my seat, I noticed my parents were crying. But these were tears of joy. You see, on top of getting this award, which my parents were very proud of, I also am the first of my family to actually go to college. My parents are so proud that they told their relatives in Mexico about me. And I am so excited that I'm going to college and that I've received this scholarship. So thank you for letting me receive this award. It helps my family a great deal, no matter how much it was for my family, and I thank you people so much again. We will never forget this. Your scholarship student, P.S. Thank you again. I could read you hundreds of letters that we get the great gift of getting from these young people, and I know we don't have time for that, but my point is, if you looked in that stadium, that's who these young people are. Each one is an individual, and because of Cash for College and all of you and all the others that have volunteered and helped us, those kids are in a better place today than they would have been. So for that, we are just eternally grateful. And I want to just acknowledge, again, some of the other sort of heroes and champions. As Eric said, when we first started this out, the late Harry Pachon did some remarkable research that helped us understand that the myth that Latino parents did not aspire to have their children go to college and succeed was indeed a grand myth, but they needed the help, as you said earlier. And Joy and others rose to that calling. And I want to also acknowledge the late Rusty Hammer. Yes. With Rusty and Harry at the helm, these two terrific individuals and citizens dreamed of doing this kind of work for kids. And many of us are humbled by having the opportunity to hold that torch for those two terrific men. Can I ask everybody to just acknowledge Harry Pachon and Rusty Hammer? Along the way, this campaign, Cash for College, relies largely on volunteers. So we have financial aid professionals, we have everyday citizens that will come to our workshops and help our families fill out their FAFSA. At this point, we have thousands and thousands of people. It's the 1,000 points of light that some people talk about vaguely, but for us in Los Angeles, this is real. These are your neighbors, some of your staff, a lot of the CDD staff that have volunteered countless hours to help young people. It is really spectacular. So I just want you to understand and feel good about the fact that the sense of civic spirit and generosity is alive and well in Los Angeles over the last 10 years. And that's why those 167,000 kids have gotten the gift of help. So I want to ask Chancellor Daniel LaVista maybe to come up and just say a few words, too, from his perspective. Please welcome Daniel LaVista.
Let's have a better hand for the head of our community college district right there. Thank you very much, Daniel.
Thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. I want to say that I stand before you as one who is connected to this wonderful program in two ways. As was noted, I'm connected through the work of our 9 colleges and the volunteer spirit of our faculty and staff who've been involved in this program. And I'm also, of course, as a member of the LA Chamber Board of Directors, connected to it from that perspective as well. I don't know that I can add much to the wonderful power of that letter you heard, but I'll say this briefly. For a long time in higher education, there was sort of a Solomon's choice for people. Which was it that better helped students succeed in college? Was it academic preparation or was it financial aid? And for a while, those two needs ran neck and neck. But I think anyone who lives in the world today and sees the difficulty that our states across the country are having in providing the wherewithal to be a full partner with higher education, anyone who looks at that understands that financial aid now is key, is central to our students succeeding. So really, this celebration over a 10-year period, as was noted, nearly 170,000 students benefiting from it. We, as the community college group that welcomes all who believe they can benefit, also recognize that those with that point of view often have dire financial needs. So we celebrate with you this 10-year anniversary, and on behalf of all of us in the community college system in Greater Los Angeles, I thank you for providing this opportunity to call attention to this terrific, terrific program. Thanks so much.
And just, we know we have a lot of presentations, but if you'll indulge us for one more, we have Nancy Rivera, who is one of the recipients of Cash for College's great work. She's here with her 3-month-old. She went to Roosevelt High School and now is at East Los Angeles College. Please welcome Nancy Rivera.
I just want to thank Cash for College because they've been a great help since I'm a young mom, and I'm also an AB 540 student, and I'm like working hard to fight for the DREAM Act. So Cash for College has been a great help, and otherwise I wouldn't have been able to continue my education. So I want to thank everyone that supported us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Garcetti, that's great.
Okay.
Well, I just wanted to thank everybody, and you did a great presentation there, and you're going to wrap it up right now. And I want to shout out again for our community colleges, and keep athletics at Southwest, keep football at Southwest. You took it away from City College.
That's right. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Labanja, former football player at the Community College District himself. On behalf of all of us, we want to present this 10th anniversary certificate on Cash for College. To Cash for College. It is Cash for College Day in Los Angeles. May generations to come make sure they can have their dreams come true, too.
Great job, Mr. Garcetti, and that whole team.
All right, we'll go to the back. We'll take better pictures of the back. Come on.
And now is the great Cash for College presentation. Mr. Garcetti, we thank you. I'd like to call on the President of the City Council, Mr. Herb Wesson, with our Friday opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. I'm joined here today by Joe and Sebastian. Sebastian is a pretty cool mixed terrier, 3 years old, has his shots. He's ready to go today. He was a stray. He's been a big hit at the animal shelter. But he's getting lonely, and he wants to find a home. He wants to curl up next to you as you eat popcorn and watch your favorite movie. And that's why we have him here today. This is one of my favorite Fridays. We call it Pet Adoption Friday. I tell this story every week, or every time we do this, that here at the City of Los Angeles, we have a 100% adoption rate where it relates to our canine friends. So if you're here in the gallery or watching this on television or in your office in City Hall or City Hall East listening to this, I recommend you come down, take a look at Sebastian, and make him a member of your family. Now, this is fun, and I love doing this, and I have more dogs than I'll admit to, but you want to save a life, adopt a pet. We have great animals in all of our shelters, and no matter how hard we try, it is virtually impossible to get them all adopted. So we need help from the public. When you adopt one of our companion animals, you save a life. Thank you. So please come down, give Sebastian a home. Joe is going to stay here for a while in the back. We'll afford you an opportunity to come pet Sebastian and get to know his personality, and hopefully before this day is over, from my chair I'll be able to announce that Sebastian has found a home. So with that said, Mr. President, thank you very much, and again I want to thank Joe for bringing us our four-legged buddy today. Thank you.
Very good, and thank you, Sebastian. Mr. Koretz.
Wait, Joe.
I just wanted to say about this particular dog, I was playing with him before the council meeting. This is the sweetest, friendliest dog you have had in the 2.5 years I've been here. This dog was licking me and playing with me as if I was his long-lost friend after 5 seconds. So if you want a really friendly family pet, this dog must have gotten out for a couple days and they never found the owner. But this is a wonderful dog, so somebody should come and adopt this dog.
All right. I'll share credit with you, Mr. Koretz, in the event that we can get Sebastian adopted today.
And Mr. Zion wanted to add to this.
And Mr. LeBonge, thank you. Yesterday, regarding the cute little dog, there was a grand opening of the shelter in the San Fernando Valley, Brand and Sepulveda Boulevard. And Best Friends is operating that shelter. I was there with Mr. Koretz, Mr. Alarcon, Mr. Cardenas, and the word to the public is we have a shelter now that is trying to adopt as many pets as possible, and if they want to get the variety of pets, the shelter, the new city shelter, Brand and Sepulveda in the San Fernando Valley, they can adopt some beautiful, beautiful dogs and cats, as we see here. This dog is so precious, and we want to find a home for, obviously, this dog and all the others. But we want to do this no-kill in the city of Los Angeles. But the shelter that opened yesterday with the grand opening is an ideal situation for people. There's one dog we have today, but there's many more that are ready for adoption, all types, all varieties at that new shelter. So we want to encourage people to visit that and help get these dogs nice, happy, friendly homes. I know, Mr. Weston, you have about a dozen, last count, and it's growing every single day.
No,
So I just want to add that.
I have 3, And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I understand.
Very good. All right. Well, beautiful, Sebastian. We know what to do. Let's thank you, Mr. Wesson, for that. At this time, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alarcon, Buscaino, Cardenas, Englander, Garcetti, Weezer, Caress, Krikorian, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Zine, Wesson, 12 members present, and a quorum, Mr. President.
Yeah. First order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Englander moves. Mr. Corrett seconds. So ordered.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Mr. Rosendahl moves and Mr. Parks seconds. So moved.
Mr. President, items 1 and 2 are items noticed for public hearings. Item 2 is a PCN in Council District 10, and a motion is required.
Hold. Mr. Wesson.
I'm over here at Zine's desk. I want to make a motion that the council grant the PCN in this case.
On number 2.
On item 2.
And Mr. Parks, you have
hold number 1. We're going to have a conference here.
Hold number 1 on the side, so we can take up number 2, right, Mr. Clerk?
Correct, sir. For point of clarification, for number 1, we do have cards, so we should set that aside. But unless any of your members would like to call number 2 special, you can consider it at this time.
Let's consider item number 2. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Next item.
Items 3 through 8 are items for which public hearings have been held.
3 through 8. Any specials on 3 through 8? Number 8 for Mr. Zine. No other specials, members. No other specials. So let's take those other items up, Mr. Clerk.
Very good. Would you like to open the roll, sir?
Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Good. Next item, please.
Items 9 through 14 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Let's open for consideration, and I'll call on Ms. Perry.
I just want to call 11 special so we can receive and file it.
Hold on just a second, please.
I'll make a motion to receive and file.
You got it. Mr. Clerk, for consideration.
Yes, sir. For consideration, you can move that without objection.
Very good. Let's move that without objection. So what's before us right now, Mr. Clerk?
We're still on items 9 through 14, sir. We do have cards, I might add, on items 9, 10, 11, and 12. 9, 10, 11, and 12.
Okay. And then do not have any cards? 13 and 14. Let's put them up right now. Let's open the roll on 13 and 14. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
All right, so ordered. Next business.
Mr. President, would you like to go back to presentations?
Absolutely would. And let me now call on the great councilman of the 11th District, who is there greeting our great friends from UCLA, but now he's got a special group here, Mr. Rosendahl, for a presentation.
When did you retire? Day after statement? Right after you run? Yes, sir. Congratulations. All that kind of stuff. Proud of you. Come on over. Come on out. Come on, get you right behind me. This is a fun thing, folks. It's Pali High we're talking about here. Okay? It's the cross-country boys team. They're winners. And the coach is retiring, but this was his last major gig, and he won. So we want to thank you, Coach. Thank you, Mr. President and colleagues. I'm here today with a group of coach, student athletes, and parents and supporters of Pali High's cross-country team. I used to be a runner, folks, by the way. I did come in number 1. I was a fast runner when I was a kid. Long legs I had. That was fun. On November 16, 2011, the boys team won the City Section Cross Country Championship for large schools held at Pierce College. This is Pali High's first cross-country title in 34 years. Ta-da. Clap for that. 34 years, folks. Pali High won in convincing fashion, beating 10 other schools. The team represents the city in the state finals held in Clovis, California on November 26th. The commitment and dedication demonstrated by the team has made the entire Pacific Palisades community proud. And I'd like to say we have a great lady here, Marissa Williams, the only female Pally runner who went to the state finals as an individual. Ta-da! And I got the coach. Come on over, Coach Ron Brummel. What a way to end your career. Congratulations on doing that. And announce who the students are for us.
Thank you very much. I'm proud to be here today, and I want to thank everybody. Starting with our captain and individual city champion, Grant Stromberg.
Give me the shirts.
Drake Johnston, who's a junior who was third in the city finals.
Grant?
Thank you. Jonathan Tuadros, a junior. Matthew Cato, a sophomore. Austin Gelber, one of our team captains, a senior. And Nick Wong, another senior who is also a team captain. We have another one of our athletes, Matthew Hammer, who was not able to attend today, but who is very important in our championship.
Good job, Coach.
Team captain, come on up, say a few words.
All right.
This is Grant.
Yes, hello. On behalf of the Palisades Charter High School cross-country team of 2011 and the teams before us that came so close, I would like to thank the Councilman Bill Rosendahl and the City Council for these certificates. We're very grateful and very honored to be here. We'd also like to thank our amazing coach, Ron Brummel, for guiding us and encouraging us for 4 years. We couldn't have done this without him, and he has devoted 20 years to Palisades Charter High School's cross-country and track program, and we're very grateful for all that he has done. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
What a great presentation, Mr. Rosendahl. Let's congratulate the Dolphins of Pacific Palisades High School champions.
Yes.
Good job.
Thank you all very much. We love winners. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we want to call on a real winner, and Dennis Zine right now. Mr. Zine, are you here?
Well, thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to bring up Mr. Leon, the Motorman Kaplan, to join me. Those of you who listen to radio or drive in Los Angeles will know this name. And how about Dixie Belle? Come on up, Dixie Belle. Leon Motorman Kaplan. Recognizing Motorman Leon Kaplan for having the longest running uninterrupted show, Talk Radio, KBC, Talk Radio 790, and for owning and operating his business in the great city of the Angels, Lancer Automotive Services, 3rd Street in Los Angeles for over 4 decades. The Motorman, Leon Kaplan, grew up in Durham, North Carolina, spent his time zipping around in anything with a motor. All he ever wanted to do was race and get away from the police. His goal was to be a NASCAR race driver. His grandmother told him that whatever he decided to do needed to be done the best. She would often say, quote, "You take after Granddaddy Lance, you can fix anything." In the early 50s, Leon spent a lot of time at the NASCAR track where he met race car driver Curtis Turner, who gave him some life-changing advice. Wanted to be a race driver. He wanted to be just like Curtis. Curtis pointed to the group of people working on his car and said, "I know more than all those people put together about the car. You've got to know everything about your car," and that stuck with the Motorman. Attended Nashville Auto Diesel College in Tennessee. Automatic transmission in the 50s is where computerization on cars are today. Nobody understood the new transmissions. Nobody except Leon. He understood them like the back of his hand. After graduating from Durham, he couldn't raise money to be a race car driver, and his brother moved to California after military service, encouraged him to join him here in the Golden State. There was an opportunity for a 3-month assignment, and it was paying $300 a week, $1,200 a month. He took it so he could have money to be a race car driver. Lo and behold, he's still here and still not a race car driver. In the late 70s, he lived in Lake Arrowhead, where he met George Green, then the general manager of KABC. At that time, Elmer Dills hosted the Sunday morning KABC show, and Elmer would rotate Leon with a doctor, lawyer, and real estate expert. Leon would talk about new cars on the show every so often, and ultimately evolved into his own show. By the time Leon was offered the Sunday morning slot full-time, Bill Handel was hosting Handel on the Law. And George Green originally turned down Leon's show. George was concerned that Leon would lose the female audience and feared the show would be too male-oriented. A while later, Wally Sharon, the program director, asked Leon to do the show one Sunday morning, and he's still there over 30 years. From 1989 to 1993, Leon was a spokesman for Quaker State Oil and traveled to all NASCAR tracks pertaining to seminars and participating in seminars with NASCAR drivers. In '89, he was elected to Diesel Hall of Fame, and 2 years later was inducted into the National Association of Trade and Technical Schools Hall of Fame in Washington, D.C. Also published a book titled Keep This Book in Your Glove Compartment, an easy-to-follow handbook that deals with such car problems as overheating, jump-starting your car properly, changing a tire, cutting down on mechanics bills, and figuring out what's causing knocks and pings. Known for his honesty and down-home nature, but his honesty once got him into hot water at the radio station KABC. There was a great General Motors car, and Leon told his audience that it wasn't a very good car. He said this particular car should have waited one more year to perfect some of its problems. Leon was called in the general manager's office after Cadillac canceled his $350,000 account with the station. $350,000 loss. And George was really upset. Leon told him if he needed him to lie, he didn't need to be on the radio. George called this, I don't want to say the name of the car because I guess it's good now, and said that, my man, don't lie. He tells the truth. They got this particular car company to back off, and since then it's improved and they kept the advertising with KABC Radio. George backed Leon up 100%. The relationship continues today, and George is Leon's manager. His years of experience examining the body and mechanics of just about every make of automobile, from vintage to today's newest models, uniquely qualifies him to discuss and advise listeners on all car matters. When you're in a city like Los Angeles with heavy traffic, safety and security are critical. So I congratulate you on the success of your shop and your hit radio show. And I know Leon personally. I had the opportunity to meet him. When you want to know something about a vehicle, Leon Kaplan in his shop in the city of Los Angeles helps people. One thing about the motorman, Leon Kaplan, is he's got this great voice. And on the Sunday mornings, you can hear him for over 30 years, and he's still there at KABC Radio. He's not retiring, but we have this nice recognition for him. So he'll continue that. And if you know or want to know anything about a car, what type to buy or how to fix it, Motorman is the man. And I had the great opportunity recently to go to Jay Leno's garage, courtesy of the Motorman. This man knows anything and everything, and his female audience is growing so much. Dixie Bell, who's been married to for over 40 years, now listens attentively at the show to make sure he comes home right after the show.
Mr. Zine, you did such a good job, but before you
I'm not done, Mr. LeBon.
I know. I want you to do a station ID. Do a station ID call.
All right,
right
station
now.
ID. This is KABC Talk Radio 790 with Motorman Leon Kaplan.
All right, very good, Mr. Zine.
All right, so now we present this to the Motorman, and what it reads is congratulations on your revered, long-standing career in broadcasting at Talk Radio 790 KABC. You've captivated audience with your infinite knowledge about all things motorized, and your broadcast, your boundless charm, and you'll love his voice. Practically speaking, you dispense invaluable automotive advice to the listeners while simultaneously providing reliable professional service at Lancer Automotive Service in the city of Los Angeles for more than 40 years. Your mechanical expertise uniquely qualifies you to discuss and advise listeners and customers on all car matters, including selection, purchase, repair, and maintenance. You are a true master of your craft. Best wishes for continued success, Leon, my good friend Kaplan, and his lovely wife. But we're going to call you Dixie. I love that name, Dixie. I love that name, even though it's not your name. So he flies airplanes, drives motorcycles. You name this man, and he services the public like no one else. So it's with great pleasure that we give you the microphone so they can listen to you, the Motorman, Leon Kaplan.
Thank you, Councilman Zahn, and thank you, Los Angeles. What a pleasure it is to be recognized by the city of Los Angeles. And speaking, well, first of all, I have to give her credit first for putting up all these years with me with all my motorized things, from motorcycles to airplanes to cars, and the weekends that I've been away from my family, and God bless my 3 children as well for spending the time with me. But I'd really like to thank Los Angeles. Earlier you were talking about adopting the dog. I'd like the city of Los Angeles to adopt myself, because when I left North Carolina years ago, I really found a home here in Los Angeles, and it's been a great, great place and will continue. My wife and I, since I have an airplane, we've traveled the country, and there's no place like Los Angeles. I can tell you that. That's a fact. You know, my daughter lives in Phoenix, and we travel back and coming across the desert at night, and it's dark, and all of a sudden the lights start to appear from Los Angeles. I want to tell you, it's a great feeling. It's just, I'm home. I'm coming home again, and what a great opportunity it is. And again, I'd like to thank KBC Talk Radio. They've just been marvelous to me. I'm on my 32nd year of helping the people of Los Angeles, and I probably saved the people of Los Angeles millions and millions of dollars, and I haven't received anything in return. No commissions, none of these things. But KABC, I owe a lot of recognition to, because they've had me on there for a long time, and I love doing radio. Every time I'm off the show on Sunday morning, I can hardly wait till the next week to get on again. But again, thank Los Angeles. I love KABC Radio. I hope all of you listen to KABC Radio. What a great, it's been a mainstay in Los Angeles for forever. And as long as I'm around, I'll be there helping the city of Los Angeles. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Leon, and your wonderful wife, Mr. Zion. Thank you. Very nice presentation. Now I'd like to call on the great councilwoman of the 9th District, Jan Perry.
Thank you, Mr. LaBonge. Ms. Perry.
You want to have everybody come up with you? Yeah, that's great.
Councilman.
Okay. Keith, are you going to come up? Sure. Stand close. This is about you right now. As you all know, this month here in the city of Los Angeles, we are celebrating African American history, and as part of this celebration, I'd like to take the opportunity to celebrate an individual who has made an enormous difference in breaking down barriers. He is a man who embodies the opportunity of firsts, and I wanted to highlight who he is and to celebrate his life and why it makes Los Angeles such an incredible and diverse place to live. So today I am joined by the Dean of the UCLA School of Nursing, and his name is Dr. Courtney H. Leiter. In 2008, Dr. Leiter became the first African American dean in the nearly 100-year history of UCLA and the first minority male dean of a school of nursing in the United States. Born in the port of Spain in the West Indies, Dr. Leiter came to the United States at the age of 5 and lived with his grandparents, who inspired him to pursue a career in geriatric care. Among Dr. Leiter's numerous career achievements, he was the first person of color to earn tenure at Yale's School of Nursing and the youngest member ever elected into the American Academy of Nursing. He is one of the fewer than 3% of deans who are under the age of 45 years old and boasts an impressive academic record as an internationally recognized researcher in patient safety and geriatric nursing. Over the past 17 years, he has received nearly $12 million in research and training grants, published over 165 books, chapters, articles, and abstracts, and has given over 500 lectures throughout the United States and abroad. Under Dr. Leiter's leadership, the School of Nursing has become the most diverse on the UCLA campus. In fact, 59% of the students identify themselves as minorities or people of color, and 13% are male. In addition, the UCLA School of Nursing is ranked in the top 1% of all nursing schools in the nation and is renowned for its excellence in teaching, research, and clinical practice. Added to these accomplishments is the fact that for over 28 years, the UCLA School of Nursing Health Clinic has provided primary health care services to the homeless and indigent population in Skid Row here in downtown Los Angeles. So we gather together to celebrate Dr. Leiter's achievements today, and I also want to salute him for his commitment to increasing diversity and being an incredible role model for the entire community. And so it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Leiter and to ask him to introduce his friends here, his friends who have come with him today, colleagues, and to say a few words about his work.
Thank you so much. So, Mr. President, Councilwoman Perry, and the other council members, I am truly honored to be here today. If you had told me 25 years ago I would be standing here to receive such an amazing accomplishment of a resolution in the greatest city in this country, I would tell you you're probably smoking something that I don't want to know that you're smoking. But I am truly humbled to be standing here today as the dean of one of the best schools of nursing, and to say to you that I thank you very much for this honor, because it's not an honor about me. It is an honor about our future. And you always know that nurses, and people say this all the time, physicians may save the life. The nurse will keep you alive. So I accept this award not for me, but for all of the 3 million RNs in this country. And when we look at healthcare reform that will occur in the next couple of years, it is on the backs of nurses and nursing. And I am so proud to be leading an amazing school of nursing, and some of my colleagues that are here today to support me, because I didn't get here on my own. I got here on the backs of colleagues and parents and grandparents and everyone else that supported me. So here today is Laura Perry, who's my Director of Communications, James Johnson, who is my Executive Assistant, Elizabeth Zamora, who is head of my development, and of course, I wouldn't be here without this man here, who I think you all know is Keith Parker, who is Assistant Vice Chancellor for our wonderful regulations and legal and politics and policy and everything else. Government and community relations, there we go. So I thank you yet again, not for me, I thank you for supporting nursing and supporting nurses in the great city of Los Angeles. So I thank you, thank you, thank you, and this is by far the most amazing honor I've ever gotten in my 25 years of being a nurse. So thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. And Doctor, a few of our colleagues would like to say a few words. I'm going to start with Mr. Rosendahl, even though they put Koretz in front of you, Bill, but I saw your name alone. So anyway, you go on. Paul can wait a moment.
Well, I was very enthusiastic when I heard you speak, and I did shake your hand for a second over there before. My sister, Mary, is a nurse. Two of my nieces are nurses. My brother is a nurse, and his wife is a nurse. And I can tell you, right now I'm experiencing the need for nurses at home with a senior that wouldn't be alive if it wasn't for the support system that happens. I consider nurses angels of the Lord. Yes. You are incredibly important to us, and we thank you for what you do for all of us. God bless you.
Thank you.
Is that it?
Mr. Koretz.
Well, thank you. This makes me proud in a lot of ways. Of course, first as a UCLA alum, but also, and particularly to see this school break down the stereotypes that it has and hire someone that's so incredible at the same time to run this nursing school. I'm even more proud because indirectly, when I was in the legislature, I fought for nursing funding, and the funding that we were able to get, among other things, allowed UCLA to reopen its nursing school. And what you've accomplished in this short time in the last few years has been incredible, and I know you're going to even bring it to the next level. One of the best, if not the best, nursing schools in the country. So I commend you on all your great work, and thank you, Ms. Perry, for recognizing his terrific work and the terrific work of the school.
Thank you. Ms. Perry?
Okay. Thank you very much. And I also want to tell Dr. Leiter that my chief of staff is a critical care nurse, and I can tell you in politics it's good to have a nurse on site because they perform triage and they lay everything out so that it flows logically. And she's been known to actually save a life at an event now and again. So your skills are transferable if you ever wish to leave academia and come work here in local government. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Perry.
Let's go in the back. Take a picture. Get your stuff. Get your books on the briefcase and everything.
Mr. Clerk?
Mr. President, that takes council back to items called special or general public comment.
Okay, we'll start out with public comment then. All right. Mr. Herman is here. Please come forward, Mr. Herman, Mr. Arno Sachs, and Cheryl Eichley. Please come forward.
Paul, I'd like to redistricting commissioner on that.
Where's Mr. Herman? I just saw him. Oh, come on. I called you. You're first.
I'm a tough critic.
And it's been, before you start, Mr. Herman, I've just been informed that is Jeremy in Mr. Koretz's office adopted Sebastian, so our 100% adoption rate continues. Mr. Herman.
Thank you, Mr. Wesson. Congratulations, Mr. Weezer. I see that you got redirected into your new area now. Is that right, as I read in the paper? But I'm here to speak about people with disabilities once again. How many times will we continue to ignore the compliance of what is needed for those with disabilities? There are federal mandated laws to protect people with disabilities. Council members, please take this as a serious matter. I know there are many other ideas and objectives on your tables, but you must set a time scale to look into the matter of what people with disabilities need. Mr. Salzberg's comments yesterday or the day before were very well pointed. I don't find him offensive, though there were some technicalities in words, but that's an expression. I use these expressions at times when I become upset, so much as any one of you who have human feelings. So let's stop the madness and not make it a nightmare. There's nothing wrong in using visuals in our comments, Mr. Krikorian. So, back to the problem about people with disability. Let's work together to improve and use amendments that will be helpful for people who need your services in the city of Los Angeles. And so again, thank you for your time on public comment without interruption.
Thank you, Mr. Herman. Mr. Sachs, followed by Ms. Eichley. Morning, Mr. Sachs.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Arnold Sachs. I wanted to speak about Wednesday's meeting and congratulate the council on another fabulous celebration of flatulence. Your items 21, 22, and 23 on Wednesday regarding the mortgage crisis is mind-boggling. What exactly, again, did you accomplish on Wednesday's meeting? Did you discuss the settlement of $18 billion, pros and cons? No. You asked for reports back in 30 days. We heard from Councilman Garcetti, Councilman Rosendahl, how vicious and angry and ugly those banks are. But did you discuss the $18 billion settlement? No. You're going to get reports back. 5 years we heard that you've had a hotline regarding mortgage failures. So in 30 days, when this report back, what settlement, what great cure do you expect to have in 30 days that you haven't been able to come up with in 5 years? 5 years. That's longer than one of your terms. Oh, by the way, that's the third term some of you got in order to continue your wonderful work on the council. 5 years. We heard 112,000 calls to the hotline and 46,000 foreclosures in the county. You don't even have the data after 5 years to figure out which ones are the county and which one are in the city. So in 30 days you expect to get answers. And what's the solution in 30 days? Why 30 days more? 112,000 calls to the hotline. How many of those people kept their houses? Do you have that data? Of the 46,000 foreclosed, some of which would occurred in the city of LA, do you have any data that would say, well, of those 46,000, maybe 20,000 called our hotline and they still lost their home? No, we don't have that data. So what the hell did you do on Wednesday except change the size of the...
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. We'll have Ms. Cheryl Eichley, followed by... 1 second. I'm sorry, Cheryl. Mr. Garcetti.
Just very briefly, I said it, if anybody had listened closely, Mr. Sachs, and usually I'm very respectful about it, but we actually said very specifically that hotline has 40,000 people who have stayed in their 40,000 homes that have been saved, 100,000 people. We have that block by block, LA. We know LA City versus LA County. We know that there's a $500 million worth of equity that has been saved for folks. I look forward to working on more things with you, but to come here and to say that we didn't even say that and that it hasn't been done, listen carefully, Mr. Sachs.
Okay, you're disrupting the meeting, Mr. Sachs. You're disrupting the meeting. Please stop. So now we're going to have Cheryl Eichley, followed by Rick Nightingale in the Valley, Eleanor Harrison, and Mr. Ben Fortson. Ms. Eichley, welcome.
Thank you, President. My name is Cheryl Eichley, and I live in District 4. It looks like we moved around a little bit. I'm a member of Occupy Los Angeles, and I speak for myself today. Today, we're joined by Javier Perez, and he's a 76-year-old retired construction worker. He actually used to do concrete foundations for housing. His mortgage payment has gone up from $1,400 to $2,300, and he's in Mr. Garcetti's district. So I just wanted to let you know that because he doesn't speak English very well, and I want you to understand his story. I also want to talk about the San Francisco County Recorder report that came out this week. If you're not aware, the San Francisco County Recorder came out with a report where they audited 4,000 foreclosures this week. They came out with a report, and 84% of the foreclosures that they investigated had some sort of violation of the law. 2/3 of the ones that they investigated or audited had 4 or more violations of the law. I realize that the county recorder in Los Angeles does not fall under the city's jurisdiction, but I'm wondering if there's a way that we can encourage the county recorder in Los Angeles to do a similar report, because I'm assuming that the 84% that have a clear violation of law is probably pretty universal. If it is universal for the state of California, that's over 1 million foreclosures in the state that have some sort of violation of the law. I also want to talk, with my 17 seconds left, about Cash for Keys programs. It's where the banks offer homeowners $10,000 to $35,000 to do a short sale on the home. The banks make 2 to 3 times the unpaid loan balance on these transactions in mortgage insurance and tax write-offs. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Garcetti, did you? Okay. Thank you. So if we could go to the Valley and for Mr. Rick Nightingale.
Yeah, good morning, Rick Nightingale. This is about drugs and so forth. Would you believe that 1 out of 15 kids in school smoke pot daily? That's insane. That's just insane. Look at how many, all the big stars have died. Elvis Presley and Michael Jackson and Jimi Hendrix years ago and Janis Joplin, and they're over drugs. And their best friends don't even tell them, because you got to be with the in crowd so you can't go against them, because if you say something, I don't want to associate with you anymore. But they don't have the guts to turn around and tell them, you're crazy, you're wrong, don't do it. I had a friend of mine come back from Vietnam. He liked to smoke grass, and then he got into coke. And every time I saw him, I told him he was an idiot. And we got into it all the time. Thank God he could quit. He smokes grass now. I don't see him like I used to. But thank God he got out of all the hard drugs. But everybody's afraid to talk to him. Look at Whitney Houston with Oprah Winfrey. She didn't have the guts to turn around and tell her she was an idiot. But then here comes KFI with John and Ken. And they say something, they badmouth her, and they want them off the air. You can't say something like that, man. She's the queen. You can't do that. It was only a matter of time that she was going to die. You didn't have to be a rocket scientist to know this. Look at Lindsay Lohan. At least she had to get on probation, and how many times has she been screwing around, wasting her life? But you don't touch on the subject. But O'Reilly said something, or you don't touch him either. He's flat too big for you people. But the news media don't.
Thank you, Mr. Nightingale. Eleanor Harrison, followed by Ben Fortson. Please come forward. Good morning.
Ms. Eleanor Harrison. I'm here to reflect on Black history and the injustices that are still being committed against African Americans. For instance, why is there over 90% of Black people on Skid Row, which is right around the corner? It's the direct effects of the slave trade, genocide, manipulation, and exploitation that the propagandists have committed against African Americans, of which there has been no reconciliation. Although African Americans are immigrants, we must consider African Americans were brought to America by force, held captive. It was the blood, sweat, and tears of African Americans that made the United States prosper. We have sown tremendously and reaped little. We are rewarded with denial, rejection, and abuse. Other people come to America and are allowed to prosper, but African Americans have systematically been left out and left behind. The favoritism that America shows to other people is blatant and in our face. Even in this day and age, Black people are still experiencing racially motivated attacks. My fiance and I know firsthand of what it's like. On February 11th, 2011, Ryan McKenzie committed a hate crime against us. It's crystal clear why this racist individual was so bold during the commission of the crime he committed against us, because he knew the mentality and makeup of the LAPD, and the fact that a close friend of the family, Officer Sergio Sanchez of the Southwest Division, would have his back, and he would get away with the crime of which he has. There's simply no equality when it comes to black people in America. Log on to hiphoptalks.com. That's hiphoptalks, TALKS.com. It's about empowerment, justice, and unity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fortson. Please come forward.
Now, when my fiance and I, you probably recognize us from last year in regards to the hate crime. Now, what the city attorney did, and to pay back me, is they filed a case against me, the city attorneys, this was Bernie Brown, and charged me with a crime that they knew I didn't commit. And subsequently, I fought and told them what's going on, and it was dismissed. They filed a case 10/6/11, and it was dismissed January 11th, 2012. And they knew I didn't commit this crime. But that's what they did to me for speaking out in regards to the hate crime that was allowed to be committed against my fiance and I by the Southwest Division, Martin Luther King Boulevard over there. We came here, we exercised our fundamental rights, and as a consequence of that, they trumped up a charge on me. I got it right here. I got my minutes. I got everything right here. This is what the city attorneys of the United States of America in Los Angeles, which is a government, that's the U.S. government. So the U.S. government is still doing the same thing to African Americans, especially black males, that it's always done. Target and victimize. This is what they've done. The city attorney's office filed a case against me, knowing beyond a shadow of a doubt that I didn't do it, and still trumped up the charge on me. I stood up for mine. I wasn't going to bow down. They subsequently, I got my minutes right here. Minutes talk. We know what walks. That's what they did to me.
Thank you, Mr. Fortson. Where do you get your hats? Is that where you get them? Because I notice you have one every time you come. I like them. Okay, if I could call Dr. Tom Williams, Matt Dowd, and I believe this is Zuma Dog, if you guys could please come forward. Dr. Williams, good morning.
Good morning. Dr. Tom Williams, LA 32 Council Board member and also member of the Friends of the Southwest Museum. We've been waiting a long time. A while ago, like 6 months, we were told that there would be a special group, committee, commission, something to be formed so that we can figure out what to do with the Southwest Museum, where we've been waiting. We would highly recommend that the City Council move it on to the Recs and to the Arts, Parks, and Neighborhoods Committee so that we can get it going. Because right now, we are already starting a business plan for the museum. We're trying to update the Brenda Levin study that was done under the auspices of the Autry National Center that showed that the Southwest Museum is a viable museum. We're also trying to form a Northeast LA tourism investment district as a proposal, because we have a lot of assets in the Northeast that we think, as a combined along the Gold Line, would be a highly effective tourism investment district. So basically, we want to get the Southwest Museum open. We know it's going to cost money, and we're looking at that right now. A financial plan, part of our business and financial plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Matt Dowd, followed by Zuma Dog.
Thank you. Triumphant, victorious again. Of course, have you seen the speaker cards? I've talked about it so many times, how you don't have to provide the information, Tom LaBonge. Every time I went to committee and all these times you interfered with my comment. Oh, gee, you haven't put your name on the speaker card. Well, there it is in black and white with red on top. Don't have to provide it if you don't want to. These are public documents. You might just want to talk about something and not have everyone have your address and phone number and all these things. Oh, I forgot, but you want everyone to talk nice. See, it's all, oh, you got to say all the good things. It's like Rick Nightingale in the Valley. He's right. I'm the next one. After Jimmy and Janice and Whitney and all of these people. Yeah, I'm the next. I'm ready to fucking drop dead from a
Okay, Matthew. All right, you're disrupting the House and his time. Your time is through for today. Okay, Mr. Zuma Dog. Mr. Zuma.
Not through for today. Maybe not through for today. Please say you didn't say not through for today. I don't want Matt to be richer than me in the lawsuits. Okay, I want to be the top dog reward person. Now you're going to make Matt so rich that the city's going to be closing another library. It's going to be the Matt Dowd library closure. So Matt Dowd, don't go anywhere because we got the law on our side. And Council President Wesson knows that because that word's allowed in the context. But now let's talk about some serious things. I was going to talk about my Venice Beach lawsuit and the fact that I have a settlement proposal with Trutanich. And please ask him about it. Because he's dragging this out and hiring expensive outside counsel. Talk to Rosendahl. He wants to get me the heck out of here, as many do you. So let's talk about while I'm here. First of all, go to lacitynews.com. There's a new video about Richard Alarcon, who's out there fundraising while he's facing 18 indictments and serious jail time. Is it because he's paying for his legal defense fund out of it? Now, hello, LA Times. Hello, if you'd like to know the report that was sent to the FBI. It's about the biggest scam in the city, and council's panicked right now. In October 2011, Superior Court ruled that the LA Housing Department has been citing property owners with building and safety code. As we know, building and safety under FBI investigation. What this means is that it's like Kinko's, no, it's like Blockbuster charging the late fees for Netflix. So you have the housing department citing building and safety code. Then you get fined. Then you get liened. Then you lose your property. But the court said that the housing department may not cite building code because the building code has its own enforcement mechanism. If you have been fined or lost property in the city of Los Angeles because the housing department cited building code, contact Zumadog at zumadog.com. I am contacting the FBI with each case.
Thank you, Mr. Dog. We have now Carlos Mataquin, Jaime Perez, and I think it's Jaman Dixie Sr.
Yes.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Carlos Mataquin. I represent myself and Occupy LA. I'm here to speak to you regarding the new pilot program that is going to be started at the courts here regarding mediation. It is just a pilot program. However, we know that in the county of Orange County and some other cities across the United States, this program does work. However, I would like also you to consider in implementing as part of the mediation program, somehow if we can put some teeth into this program by basically asking the banks to produce documents, the real documents. As Cheryl stated earlier here, we know that in the city of San Francisco, there was the report that came out saying that 84% of those foreclosures that had taken place, they had major mistakes in there. ProPublica also came out with a report yesterday saying that there is an initial investigation in other cities that want to do exactly the same thing as San Francisco did. And most of them understand that the mortgage crisis is nothing but fraud. So we ask you to please look into ways to make sure that if there is a mediation program here in the city of Los Angeles, that it will have some teeth.
make the banks produce documents, real documents. Thank you.
Thank you. Please come forward. Mr. Perez, right?
Yes.
Welcome.
My problem is with the banks. The banks don't try to help me. The bank don't try to help me for my loan. I have been trying to 1, 2, 3, 4 times. They don't do it. Simply because the banks don't pay attention to people. The banks, they want is money. And I would like to know how can I do it, or where can I go to help me, somebody to help me from this city council, anybody. Because it really is, when I started the loan was $150,000, now it's $165,000, plus more than $2,000 a month. I have been paid more than $100,000 in 5 years, believe it or not. But the bank don't pay attention to me. I try to tell them to lower the payment because really I cannot work anymore because for my age. So I cannot have money from income to pay the payments every month. It really for me is too hard to continue this way. Maybe one of these days they are going to take my home away from me, and I don't know how can I do it after this. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Garcetti, would you have one of your staff go to speak to Mr. Perez? Mr. Perez. Mr. Perez.
He knows. We talked to him, so he'll we'll be assisting him. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Mr. Dixie? Or Dixon?
Dixie.
Dixie?
Jamon Dixie.
Okay.
I'd like to address the council in the city of Los Angeles. I'm an ex-felon that resides here in Los Angeles, California. I'm an undergrad at Long Beach City College, and I live here in the Skid Row area. And on numerous occasions, I've addressed the Los Angeles Police Department that every time I'm returning home, I'm solicited drugs, either threatened or about to be assaulted by the many felons or criminals that are right there on the sidewalk. And no one did anything about my complaints. Well, not too long ago, I was assaulted by 5 gentlemen. I was jumped by 5 blood gang members from Compton, and now I have a hole in my face here. I'd like to know what can be done about this situation, because the police set up right there, and the drug transactions and the crime goes on right there, and nobody says anything. I make complaints. They come up and make friends with the same people that are seeking to assault me. If I come home with something new, I basically have to fight everybody on the block just to get into my apartment. I don't have the money to move right now, or I would have moved and got myself out of the situation. But now I'm very threatened, because now I've been assaulted, and these people still walk the streets. They still seek to assault me, and they still seek my life. So at this point, me being an ex-felon and trying to stay out of crime and stay away from crime, what do I do to address this matter? Because the police department is right around the corner. They do nothing about it. And I'm just left in a position of where either I need to move somewhere and live just on the streets. I have no family basically here. I only have an uncle here. I don't have a lot of family to go to. All my family are in other states. So, that's my main argument. My other argument is why is anyone doing anything about...
Your time is expired, but Ms. Perry, I think she wants to respond.
Yes, thank you very much. If the gentleman would meet my deputy over there on the side, she'll take your contact information, and we will put you in touch with Senior Lead Officer Dion Joseph, who should be able to help you.
Okay, thank you. I hope I can get some help.
All right, David Serrano, please come forward. Our last general public comment speaker, Mr. Serrano.
God is the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, one God, forever and ever. Amen. The Lord Jesus Christ spoke, and the universe came into existence. The Christian God created the universe by way of what we call the Big Bang Theory, although adjusted to include inflation theory. Interestingly enough, we look upon this giant expanding universe and we think, wow, it's so big. But at one time, the universe was only a few millimeters across. Very interesting. Jesus Christ was conceived by the Holy Spirit and born of the Virgin Mary. Jesus Christ never sinned.
I'm not sure what he's talking about is within the jurisdiction of the City of Los Angeles.
The truth is this, that first and foremost, Jesus Christ is God. Amen. And there is an evil conspiracy here and try to take God out of public life. And that's wrong. And not only that, but you have all these atheists who have taken schools to court trying to take prayer out of schools, and all these atheists, and everyone listens to them, and everyone gives them whatever their demands are, and they have these huge court battles. But at the same time, nobody wants to stand up and proclaim the truth that this country was founded on Christian principles, and that, yes, this country has had problems in its past. It has made mistakes. But at the same time, what country hasn't? So the reality is that none of you should ever be ashamed to stand up and proclaim the truth that the Christian God is the one and only true living God. And that's the truth.
Thank you, Mr. Serrano. And you did find your way kind of sort of back on topic. All righty. That's the end of public comment. Mr. Clerk, where are we now?
Mr. President, that brings us to item number 1, called Special for Cards.
Okay. I think this is Cesar Darden or Durden, Zuma Dog, and Superman. Yes, sir.
Cesar Durden.
Could you repeat that?
Cesar Durden.
Thank you.
I'm here to speak on the fine that I was fined on my property for no apparent reason. They said they had inspected it and didn't give me a reason for the inspection, other than the roofing paper on the house. And I would wonder why that I'm getting charged $500 for repairing my roof. And Mr. Parks said that I didn't what I want to say, come to speak to the building and safety. I went to speak to the building and safety on Wilshire. I went to the building and safety on Manchester and Vermont. Talked to everyone there and showed them I had went and fixed the roof within a timely period. And now they're saying that I still owe them $500 and some because I didn't pay a fine that I wasn't aware that I had. And Mr. Parks act like that I should have paid it. And when I wanted to know why was I fined, when I went and talked to both supervisors, and they said they would put it on, they would get back with me, and they would have a court hearing about letting it go. And that was 3 years ago. And here it is 3 years now, and they want to charge me $500 more. And I don't think it's fair. And I want to know why he's not helping me, and he's my district man.
Why don't we have you speak with...
spoke to him, he's lost.
Charles. Wait, Mr. Parks?
Thank you very much. This issue has been going on since 2009. Every letter that has been sent to the complainant has been documented. He has refused to acknowledge that his roof and building was in disrepair when he was cited. He refused to pay the fee for the inspection, which then created a fee for that failure and then interest, and he still refuses to acknowledge it. This was continued in council a couple of months ago. to allow him to work this out with the Building and Safety Department, and he has refused to be cooperative.
Thank you. No, your time, how many seconds? You have a little more? 28 seconds, go on.
I came and spoke to each person that I was supposed to speak with. It wasn't my fault. I went to talk to them. They didn't report it to him. Now, if they saying that I didn't do it, that's a misprint on their part, because I was there at the Wilshire office and the office on Manchester and Manchester and Vermont. I talked to both foremans or whoever that run it, and they said they would get back with me. I had completed the job. I was doing the job when the man came out and spoke to me about it. I showed him I was doing it.
Thank you. I'd have to defer this to the council person of that district. He's appears to know your situation personally. Yeah. Yes, Mr. Parks.
I'd ask that we move this. If we had had some cooperation with the complainant when we continued this, we'd have a different view. Even today, he doesn't acknowledge that the repair was needed. He doesn't acknowledge that the fine was there. He doesn't acknowledge that he should have paid it. And the fact that the bill has grown is due to his negligence, not the city's.
Okay, at this point, we'll do, no, this is not, nope, it's no back and forth now. The debate is over, and Mr. Parks, I know I personally will defer to you on this. Mr. Zuma Dog, followed by Superman.
And I would like to say that this is a public comment and it is not a debate, and we have had council members today numerous times talk more than 50 words. Now, I'd like to say that I wish that this would be removed or that the gentleman would have more time, because it's been brought to my attention, and I have notified the FBI over this, that the Building and Safety Department over systematic code enforcement is in massive violation. They lost a court ruling in October of 2011 that said as such. They have been illegally citing property owners. Then a fine gets tagged, it gets passed on down the line. It's impossible to get off of this. And even I have had to get involved myself where people have been compliant, and they go, well, gee, can I have the sign-off paperwork to show I'm compliant? Gee, we'll fax it later. No, we can't do that. So Zuma Dog gets on the phone. I go, you got 15 minutes to fax that, or I'm calling the FBI. So it was faxed in 12 minutes. So I'd like to say that the systematic code enforcement is under FBI investigation, because people are being illegally fined, and then their properties are being seized, and they can't do anything to get off the hook because it goes to voicemail and messages aren't returned, and then you post something illegally on their property that never should be there in the first place, and then you can't get it off, and then you lose your property. So I would like to say, in an abundance of caution, I'm sure you can give this nice gentleman some more time, or say, you know what, you happen to have snuck under the wire this time and made it to the council chambers the day Zuma Dog was here, so now he knows about it, and now he's going to the FBI about it. So maybe the best thing involved would be if you just let this guy live his life, and you don't tag him and fine him and fear him till he can't do anything, and now his life's miserable. And then when he comes to give his little 2 minutes, then you got to have a council member come up and talk and say what a bad guy he is. I love this guy, and I love his family, and I think the city's an evil, corrupt body that is illegally seizing properties due to an FBI investigated systematic code of enforcement, baby.
Thank you. Superman.
All right, and I agree. See, that's what you get. The city is full of these little traps that you get people into, and they see, and that's the main thing, is the guy came down here. Now, this is only a $500 thing. I've seen $10,000, $20,000 liens come through here for 8 years or 6, 7 years I've been here. I lose count. So the violations are written illegally. You know, there's a whole sequence of events that goes down in this city, and I've got a bunch of them too from parking enforcement. Same kind of thing. I got an illegal boot on my vehicle that I bought from Bruffy's Police Tow. They already towed it. They already took it off the guy who had all the tickets, and I park it in the street. And guess what? Because I'm a big advocate against the city.
Mr. President, I believe he's talking about this building and safety matter.
Stay on point.
To the scam that you're running.
Thank you, Superman. Okay, Seeing no speakers in the queue, let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. President, that brings us to item number 8, called Special for Councilmember Zine.
8.
Thanks, Steve.
Okay, Mr. Zine.
Thank you, Mr. President. On this item, Mr. Huizar, on the motion regarding the Department of Public Works and the different aspects of revenue and the aspects of bus benches and bus shelters and how much we're supposed to receive versus what we've received, that entire matter is going to be coming to Audit and Government Efficiency Committee. And what I've done a motion on, and thank you, Mr. Huizar, for the motion bringing this forward, is what we're asking for Public Works to bring forward is all of the contracts they have and to find out how much out or in compliance. We know that the bus shelter program, apparently the audit from our controller shows we lost millions of dollars. The bus bench contract, there wasn't a proper accounting for a 10-year period of time, so we're looking for all of the contracts the city has through Public Works and bring them all to committee and figure out where we are and what we need to do to correct it to bring it in line, because there's great discrepancies with what dollars have been promised, what dollars have been delivered to the people of Los Angeles. So I just wanted to emphasize that this matter is not closed, it's continuing, and thank you, Mr. Huizar, once again for bringing this and making this an issue that we have serious concern about regarding revenues due to the city under some of these contracts that are administered. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zine. Mr. Huizar.
Thank you very much. And I know Mr. Zine's Audits Committee is going to look more in detail on this matter and some of the issues that were raised by Ms. Gruel's audit. One particular issue that I wanted to point out is, as raised in the motion, was that back in December, the Federal Transit Authority did an audit of Metro civil rights compliance, and in the audit they found that bus benches and shelters, quote, were consistently and significantly better in non-minority and non-low-income communities than in minority and low-income communities. At our committee meeting, the staff indicated that the audit did not only focus on the city, but it was countywide, so that they needed to get in more detail which that may apply to city or non-city bus benches and shelters. They also mentioned that our contracts require maintenance twice a week. I raised the issue, however, that in some low-income and minority communities, those bus benches and shelters are probably used more often than those in wealthier communities, and that perhaps we should go back and relook at how we perform maintenance in the more heavily used areas. So we will get that report back from the department in 60 days, and we shall remain vigilant on making sure that no matter where you are in the city of Los Angeles, a minority or non-minority community or a wealthier or low-income community, we got to provide the same service that would help them feel and know that we are providing services equally throughout the city. Thank you.
Bill Rosendahl.
Thank you, Mr. President. Could I ask Lance to come up and lay this out to us? You know, we honored him the other day because he's one of the great guys in the city that makes a difference. The one thing I like about this so far is that 300 in my district will be replaced with a more quality bench than what was there before. And I just want to make sure there's no alcohol and tobacco advertising. But more importantly, just give us a quick picture of what we're doing here today.
Good morning, Lance Owish with the Beer Street Services. What the councilman reported was true as far as our current contracts. We do have maintenance that occurs minimum twice a week at all bus stop locations where we have furniture provided by both of our contractors. Both contractors actually are required to provide additional service as the site may be required. So if there's heavy transit patron use and there's a lot of trash and other things that need to be cleaned up, then they're required actually to go back and make additional visits up to 5-6 days a week if it's so needed. And so we actually have our inspectors going out and reviewing specific locations on a rotating basis. And if they notice that a site needs additional cleanups, then the contractors, both of them are required to come back and actually provide additional service above and beyond just the 2 days, twice a week. So we think that we have we are addressing that situation. We know that when the auditors reviewed the situation for the purpose of the audit, that they actually looked at our bus benches back in July of 2011. And at that time, the city was in between contracts. And so there may have been situations where some of our bus benches were not being maintained because the prior contract did not have the same stringent maintenance requirements that our current contracts do. And so we believe we resolve that by including those maintenance provisions, improved maintenance provisions in our current contract. And our current contractor is, in fact, both of them are, in fact, complying with those contract requirements.
I think that's terrific because we have 500 benches in my district, of which 300 will be replaced. And I know the communities in different parts have, sponsored various benches and have been engaged with that. So you'll be working with my community groups in particular areas where they point out something needs to be done and so on.
That's right. And the bus benches, and both the bus benches and transit shelters do have a toll-free number on it. So if folks notice that there's a slight need of maintenance, they can call those numbers, and the companies are required to respond within the next business day.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rosendahl. Mr. Buscaino.
Thank you, Mr. President. Quick question. What's feedback, or have you got any feedback from neighbor councils when it comes to these shelters and bus benches?
That's kind of a tricky question. Some of the neighborhoods really appreciate them, especially those that are transit independent. They very much appreciate the transit shelters and bus benches. Those that may not be as transit dependent may not appreciate them, more so not because of the furniture, but because of the advertising that's associated with it. And so we have a mixed response, but all the communities benefit the same equally.
Thank you. Just to know, colleagues, thank Councilmember Huizar for his leadership in this. As Chair of Public Works, know that once we get that report back from Street Services, that we'll get it on agenda and address this. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. No one else in the queue. It's time to vote on this item. Let's open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Mr. Clerk, that brings us to
item number 9, sir, called special for cards.
Item 9. Zuma Dog, on item 9, I believe that's...
Yes, and I would like to talk about this. It is rent escrow, and again, this is with the housing department, and I would like to say I'm looking for a no vote on this item. Please release all properties from the rent escrow program until the FBI has finalized their report on their investigation into the systematic code enforcement, because I have had people come to me in the community that, like the gentleman that was just here, and we've got much widespread, where what happens is they'll show up to your house and go, oh, hey, you need to fix your laundry room. Well, excuse me, I don't want to fix the laundry room, it's fine. You got to fix the laundry room. Well, then you know what? I'll just shut down the laundry room. No, now you can't do that either, because the mafioso inspector is there, and by the way, they've been accused of taking bribes and guilty. So this is real stuff we're talking about. And so now the person gets fined and feed, and then let's say even if they pay the fine and fees. Well, then you say, well, gee, I paid the fine and fee. Can you fax me confirmation so that they don't take my property? Well, that is nearly impossible. You have to be the great bipolar schizophrenic Zuma Dog screaming at the guy in the accounting department that you're calling the FBI in 15 minutes if you don't fax it over for the friend. So again, urging a no vote due to the fact that the fees have been illegally assessed in many of these cases because the housing department has been citing building and safety code. And to repeat the top headline of 2011, in October, after everybody went away for Thanksgiving and Christmas and nobody knew about it, well, they said that the city of Los Angeles is guilty, baby. They're guilty, guilty, guilty of the housing department illegally citing building code when we already have a building code department to do that. So people's properties were lost, baby, and you stole them. So vote no.
Thank you, Mr. Zuma Dog. A late entry here, Mr. Herman. Matthew, I don't have a card on you, so why don't you go on and speak, then Mr. Herman, but do me a favor and fill out the card afterwards.
There'll be a card up there. It may not say the name you think I go by right now?
No, I just don't have another one in item 9.
Okay, it's Batman. It's Batman. There should be a Batman card up there, because that's the name I put on the card for this one. It's Batman.
I saw those earlier.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what the name
Matthew,
is.
talk on this subject and then just
Yes.
Sergeant,
Thank
get him
you.
another
Reset
card
the
when
clock. I
he
love
finishes.
that. Things are happening. Now, let me tell you something. I was there when Zuma made the call, so I'm testifying to the fact that I heard the call and it happened just like that. So, these kind of things, see, cross-departmental violation writing, that's what's happening out of their jurisdiction. So a lot of these things are illegal. So with all the court rulings and all the things going against you, Zuma Dog was right about that. Let me tell you, we were right about Occupy. They needed a permit. I told you that weeks before you got rid of them. And now they've wrecked the whole thing outside. It's still a nightmare. I could have fixed it by now too. What's happening with all that? We're right about the speaker cards, the Brown Act without giving your ID, all these things. I got an injunction against you because your permits were illegal.
Stay on subject. All right, Mr. Herman, please come forward. And I found the Batman card. It's on the next item. Yes, Mr. Herman.
Council members, I've heard these horror stories. Housing Authority is way out of control. Zuma Dog, Mr. Salzberg, is absolutely 110% correct. I've been in neighborhoods within my own community and heard the cries of our housing authority inspectors walk into your property to do a permit. Then they turn around and say, oh, now you need to fix your electrical. We were here just for the water heaters, but no, now we want you to fix the whole side of the building. What is going on with Housing Authority? What in the world is happening in Los Angeles? Abuse, abuse, and abuse. It's not only happening to the natural-born citizens here. It's happening to people with disabilities, illegally being evicted from their homes for repairs and then not placed back in their homes. It's also occurring in our community, where I've heard my African-American neighbors say to me, an inspector walked in without any paperwork, not even a badge on, and he says, you need to clean this up now. And I said, well, contact Building and Safety. Well, I don't know who to contact. The inspector just walked in, Mr. John Stevenson, Department of Building and Safety. And what have you done? What are you going to do, council members? This is a city issue. These are the issues I talk about, quality of life. So get a grip. And I really hope there is an internal investigation, an outside investigation, and a state investigation, because you're violating the constitutional rights of Californians.
Thank you, Mr. Herman. Let's open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Next.
That brings us to item number 10, called Special for Cards.
Mr. Herman again, Arnold Sachs, and Batman. Mr. Herman, I have a card for you on this item 10. Mr. Sachs and Batman. Okay, Mr. Herman.
You know, I'm very fluttered, and I apologize for my outspokenness. But I shouldn't have to apologize coming here looking to ask for a course of remedy. The idea of what a politician should be really doing in local government. This is a local government issue that I draw the attention to. So again, looking at this matter, or this item number 10, what is the city economic objective here? What is it when we, at a crisis, this is not a recession any longer, this is called a depression, because I feel it, you feel it, we all feel it. And why? The scoundrels, no one in specific, sorry, City Attorney, if it bothers, but yes, there are scoundrels who take advantage and prey upon the innocent and
Mr. President, he has not once spoken about this item.
Reconnect, Mr. Herman.
Redirecting my attention, City Attorney. The subject for approval for the city to give developers money, we should look into these matters. The city has no money. The city has not given the citizens of Los Angeles a true budget. And I want to know what is the budget so that we can crawl out of this hole that you place us in, and we can resolve true issues of what local government should be doing for every single person in the city of Los Angeles. Residents have rights. The state of California has a constitution that gives us the rights to question any particular government when it comes to our rights and violations and the compliance you should be upholding to. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Herman, and you really do not have to apologize. You've been a pretty class act. Mr. Sachs?
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, Arnold Sachs. You're taking $16 million in HUD funding for a Las Vegas medical office and retail project. Yet last week, on the 3rd, you used $20 million in Tax Equity and Fiscal Responsibility Act for the Columbia Apartments, that are composed of 127 units in scattered sites. That's $20 million there. $16,800,000 here. No redevelopment funds, even though you have, over $600 million rolled over into the new fiscal year, but budgeted for the new fiscal year. You have over $200 million rolled over. So what is the extent of the use of that over $200 million in redevelopment funds? And why aren't they being used in conjunction with these projects? It's pretty interesting. Yesterday at the county, Tuesday at the county, they talked about soundproofing and using some funding, CDBG funds. They had $14 million rolled over. So the question was, they're allocating like $4,000 for the soundproofing. Said, will the project be finished? Because you have $14 million rolled over in previous year funding. Project was no answer. So these funds, while you have rolled over funds from CRA, puts the equation out. Why isn't CRA funding being used for these projects when it's available?
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. We'll have Batman, and we will close it out with Zuma Dog.
All right, yes, Batman again, Channel 35. The HUD show goes on. And I do remember all the problems. It was only a matter of weeks ago we had all those problems around about December 14. I remember we were lighting the menorah out the back while we had the HUD guys in here explaining the worst corruption in the history of the city. And now we're getting them on the hook. There's another $16 million. But look, the city's going to make $168,000 out of it. But here's what I don't like. Here's what I don't like is people trying to make fun of my name while I'm up here giving serious public comment.
Okay,
First of all, can you put a hat on that? That's offensive.
If we could have quiet in the chambers.
Thank you. See, I don't like Part 2B. They go expend funds. I don't like the word expend. It should be invest.
All right, Zumadog, please.
Yes,
Zumadog, I've been informed you only have 1 minute. You want to use it on this one? Or?
Yes. Okay, let me talk double fast. Okay, so we're talking about HUD. What I say about HUD? No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so we got HUD. Now, here's the problem. The money gets eaten away by corruption. And when I say eaten away, I mean literally by Maria Del Angel. Ba-doom, pss. So we need to have accountability because talk about FBI investigations. Yes, they're investigating the way the city spends the HUD money too. Womp, 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 womp. But now here's the real problem. Is this any time in this economy to be given financial assistance for office and retail space? I think we got plenty of that as business and everybody moved out of the city where they can afford to do business. And secondly, I'd like to say, when talking about HUD money, I definitely heard the CAO say in 2009 the #1 loss of the city's budget when it was lost billions was to the Henry Cisneros City View HUD money. Watch it. Don't let Garcetti touch this stuff.
Thank you, Mr. Dog. Mr. Zine. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Thank you. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Item 11 called special for cards.
Okay, item 11. I have cards from Arno Sachs. How much time does Arno have? Arno and Zumadog's time is expired. And Matt Dowd.
Yes, thank you. This is revolving $1,200,000 for the redevelopment south of the Santa Monica Freeway Recovery Redevelopment Project area, not to be confused with the $750,000 for the South Los Angeles Region CRA that was allocated by the council on the 13th of July last year, which included the Crenshaw Corridor, Marlton Square, South Los Angeles Redevelopment Plan Manager, Vermont Manchester Shopping Center, and the Watts Cultural Crescent. So basically, you're looking at a little over $2 million, a little under $2 million here in CRA funding, operations, work programs associated with the following specific purposes. This is for the, never mind.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. ZD, you ran out of time. Matt Dowd.
Yes, at this point in the meeting, I guess the name is irrelevant on the card, right? You know who that is. He's in jail right now. Mike Hunt. So yeah, I didn't have time to brush up on this one. It's all going too quickly now for me. All the fun and fuzzy warmth and everything is getting to me now. I'm losing track of why I'm even here. But let me quickly get back onto it. Item 11. Oh my goodness. Okay, so got to add. We're adding $500,000 in tax increment for a total of $1.2 million. CRA project. You know, I'm so glad they shut down, but the problem is the ongoing cost to the city, and it's just never going to end, and that's what I'm worried about. So get used to libraries shutting down and no more police.
Thank you. Ms. Perry, I was informed that you may want to say something on this item. Oh, okay. All right, then let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Mr. Clerk, that brings us where?
That brings us to item 12, sir. For clarification, once again, with item 11, we just received and filed that matter. And item 12 was called special for cards.
Arnold Sachs. And that's the way. Arnold Sachs followed by That's the Way. Mr. Sachs?
Waiting for the clock. Okay, thank you. AB 1290 funds. Another request for AB 1290 funds. Here's a roll call. On the 13th, $700,000 AB 1290 funds. That was in January. On the 3rd of February, $100,000 in the AB 1290 funds. Another $35,000 in AB 1290 funds. On the 27th of January, $100,000 in AB 1290 funds. Another $54,300 in AB 1290 funds. Here's a cheap one, $5,600 in AB 1290 funds. And this one, $190,000 to install traffic signals at 3rd and Manhattan Place in Council District 4. And don't forget, Wendy Gruhl, fabulous Wendy Gruhl, called for an audit on 1290 funds. How much money is the CRA has in the 1290 account? But the CRA doesn't allocate 1290 funds. That's funding that's allocated by the council, because that's funding that goes to each council district, or basically the council districts that have CRA operations within their districts. So how much money are we talking about? We got over pretty close to $1.5 million in projects here. Isn't it possible? Because A, you already rolled over $200 million in CRA funds. Couldn't you kind of let the public know how much money is available in 1290 funds? Isn't that something that the neighborhood council should be aware of, because they provide other funding for projects within the districts? Wouldn't it be nice if they could be told that, hey, we have this money, you don't need to spend that money? No. You spend your money and we'll spend your money.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. That's the Way is next. 1 minute, Matt.
That's the way it's done. Yes, just that's the way it is on the card. And now I got a problem with this. Tom LeBong, he's not here for me to make fun of him with a personal attack, and here's why. But hopefully he's watching on Channel 35, but he won't be. Of course he won't. He's out, you know, warm and fuzzying with some other cronies. But here's why he's out there being warm and fuzzy with the cronies, because he's getting $190,000 coming his way for a traffic signal. Now, if I quoted you about 35,000, I'd think it'd be a lot. Or if it was 50, but it's 190,000 for a traffic signal and only 10,000 as salaries. So therefore, $180,000 for a gold-plated traffic signal in Tom LeBong's district. That's where it's getting to. I mean, anybody out there on TV think $190,000 for a traffic signal in Tom's district is outrageous, or is it just me?
Thank you. That's the Way. Okay, seeing no speakers in the queue on that item, let's open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Clerk, where are we?
Council has motions for
Consider them posted and referred. Next.
Mr. President, I've just been informed that a special one has been submitted and distributed for Council's consideration.
All right, let's proceed with special one.
I believe the City Attorney will speak to the findings.
Then, Mr. City Attorney, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. President. Since the posting of today's agenda, the National League of Cities requested that City Council support H.R. 7 regarding Tiger funding. Because the legislation just passed committee this past Tuesday, immediate action is required for the city to take that position before Congress acts on this matter either today or next week. Council must first make findings pursuant to Government Code Section 54954.2 before considering the substantive motion.
Okay, let's vote on the findings. Open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
And Mr. Parks?
Colleagues, this is somewhat self-explanatory. The American Energy and Infrastructure Job Act has over $500 million as a fourth round of the Tiger Grant. Our interest is that it's being amended by Congresswoman Waters to add $1 billion and with the specific earmark to direct some of those fundings to the rail stops at both Leimert Park and Westchester as part of the Crenshaw line. And so we'd ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. No, seeing no other speakers. In fact, no, I had a public comment card, Mr. Zumadog.
Yes, excuse me. We have to put this on hold. Excuse me. I don't know what we're voting on right now, and I run things in this city I think people are finding out. I like to say, how come nothing's been posted for the public?
It's posted on the bulletin board.
Where? When? How much money's involved? We got to make a snapshot decision like this. I don't think the council members have had time to read the thing that's in front of them that they're voting on, and the members of the public haven't been notified. And does this constitute an emergency? Emergencies are for like when earthquakes happen or for fires and stuff like that, not because of some stuff regarding campaign money and stuff like that. So I'd like to say, can somebody please read out loud on my time for the public record so the people watching at home know what council is voting on? Simply read it.
Mr. Sachs.
So no, my time's not done. Okay, well then let me walk over to the bulletin board while my time's... Can somebody hand me the motion so I can read it? It was posted since I was standing here to speak the public comment time, if it's even there at all. And the main point here is that City Council, please vote no, because you've just been handed a thing at the last second and nobody's read it, and you're going to vote on it? What, are you crazy? I thought I'm the one with the SSI diagnosed disability here for being a schizophrenic madman sociopath. All right, Dennis is laughing. I think I can stop now. I made my point. And Paul's laughing for the record. And everybody loves the warm and fuzzy Zuma dog back in chambers, baby. Myers, Nave, outside council, baby. You can thank them.
Thank you. Mr. Arnold Sachs.
Thank you. Zumadog, evidently you really weren't paying attention because Councilman Parks said some money for Westchester. Is there a station? That'd be the aviation, and some money for the Leimert Park station. But there is no station at the Leimert Park area. Metro is bypassing that. Now that's a contentious item, and if you had gone to the Metro board meeting, you might have heard it because when it was on the agenda, Supervisor Ridley Thomas didn't hold it for his constituents. He let them speak on public comment. That's how contentious it was. But some money? How much is some money? We have no answer to that. What does that mean? Maybe it'd be like, oh, by the way, the Crenshaw line. That's the line that's being overseen by the nonprofit that the MTA is going to create, not even a construction authority. Because if it was a construction authority, we could have Councilman Reyes opine on the sensibility of having a construction authority actually being on a construction authority before it was even created so that he could resign and be reappointed. So the money is going to go where? Is it going to go to the city? Is it going to go to Metro? Is it going to go to the nonprofit that oversees the Crenshaw line? We don't know, but we're voting on it, so you can be sure, based on trickle-down economics, the thing you'll be getting will be the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. Mr. Rosendahl.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And I want to thank Mr. Parks for putting this motion together, and I second this motion. And it says basically that Congressmember Maxine Waters, God bless her, has introduced an amendment to H.R. 7 that will provide $1 billion in additional Tiger funding over the next 2 years, as well as language that states it is the sense of Congress that the Crenshaw-LAX corridor project should include stations in both Leimert Park and the Westchester communities. The Westchester community and I have been strong wanting a stop there. It's great. So I support this wholeheartedly, and I just want to thank Congressmember Maxine Waters for her leadership on this, and I obviously ask for an aye vote. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Rosendahl. On this item, let us Open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
All right.
Next.
Forthwith.
Forthwith. Next.
Mr. President, the desk is clear.
Okay, announcements. Members, any announcements? Let's rise for adjourning motions. Oh, wait, announcement, Mr. Alarcon.
Council members, I just want to announce that tomorrow we are going to be celebrating the inauguration of Marie Harris Square. Marie Harris was an advocate in the Northeast Valley, particularly Pacoima, where she believed that Pacoima was the most beautiful place on earth. And we are honoring her by naming a square in her name. The ceremonies will be Saturday, tomorrow, February 18th, from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the corner of Van Nuys and Glen Oaks Boulevard in Pacoima.
Thank you. Mr. Rosendahl.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tomorrow, if you're interested and you live in Venice especially, we want to save the old Venice post office, and we're going to have a rally at 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock. I'll be there at 3. The great Congress member Janice Hahn is going to join me, and frankly, we feel it's important to keep that. It's historic, and also it meets a need of the people in Venice. We need to keep it where it is and keep going. This is one of the times when all of Venice has come together, the right, the left, the in-between, the this and the that, because everybody believes we need to save it. So if you want to, please come to Venice, come to the post office there, and be with us and support keeping that post office in Venice. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Before I get to Mr. Zine, Richard, did you have something that you wanted to? You're on the queue here.
Point out this beautiful helmet that Buscaino got. I didn't get one of these. I don't know if any of you got one of these, but I didn't get mine. And
I'm here to put out some fires. I'm here to put out some fires.
Well, I actually helped put out some fires a couple of years ago, but I didn't get one of these. So he must be doing a hell of a job.
Mr. Zine.
Richard, we'll make arrangements. Plus, you got the matching coat, the turnout. You're now a police officer, firefighter. For the public, tomorrow at 9 a.m., Cavaretti's, they're going to build a 100-foot sandwich in celebration of Canoga Park, celebrating 100 years. And Cavaretti's is a wonderful deli in my district at 22045 Sherman Way in Canoga Park. Sherman Way, just west of Topanga Canyon. The public is invited. And also to help the Los Angeles Police Reserve Foundation, Community First Responder, they're doing a fundraiser tomorrow from 10 until 2 at McDonald's at 17641 Ventura Boulevard at White Oak, a brand new McDonald's. It is a state-of-the-art, it's an incredible design how they've created this new McDonald's, but they're doing a fundraiser for the LA Police Reserve Foundation, so we invite people to come by that 10 to 2 and see that brand new McDonald's. It's unlike any McDonald's you've ever seen. It's kind of like a Starbucks where they have nice seating, and it's a whole new environment for McDonald's. And also, Mr. President,
yes,
I know that Monday's a very special day, and we want to acknowledge, because it's a city holiday, and it's your day because it's President's Day this Monday. So we want to acknowledge that to the public.
That was a good one, Zion.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Buscaino.
Thank you, Mr. President. Those who are tuning in, watching Channel 35 or on the telephone line, tomorrow, 11 o'clock, Anderson Senior Park, please come out and join the San Pedro Central, San Pedro Neighborhood Council, Senior Lead Officer Junior Nua, and myself for a community cleanup. Again, that's tomorrow at 11 o'clock, Anderson Senior Citizen Park in San Pedro, downtown San Pedro. Thank you.
Okay, any other announcements at this time? Adjourning motions. Mr. Englander.
Yes, thank you. I'm sad
if
on
all could rise, I'm sorry. All in the council chambers, please rise.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Please rise. Everybody stands up during adjourning.
On February 11th, 2012, Joan Mazzarelli, a truly amazing lady, said farewell to the San Fernando Valley as she went to heaven. Joan was 99 years old and lived in Granada Hills since 1946, where she and her husband Paul raised their family. Besides being a business owner, she was always involved in charitable work in our community. Joan was born in Italy in 1912 and voyaged to America in 1920. Through Joan, She was very proud of her Italian heritage. She was most proud of being a U.S. citizen, and her commitment to being an American continued through her last days. As part of Joan's American duty, she never once missed an opportunity to vote. It was especially meaningful to her when her daughter, former state assemblywoman Paula Boland, was on the ballot. Joan was a mother of 3 daughters after losing her twin boys days after their birth. She then began and became a grandmother of 9, a great-grandmother of 10, and now a great-great-great-grandmother of 4. Not only did Joan have a tremendous amount of love for her family, but she also loved the many extended family members that she adopted in her life. Joan's love was infectious, and she spread her love wherever the opportunity presented itself. Joan spread her love to the soldiers of World War II by knitting and donating scarves to the Red Cross. When the opportunity arose to repeat those kinds of actions to our soldiers years later, Joan was thrilled. She was introduced to Operation Gratitude, an organization we're all familiar with, in 2009, and she knitted and donated 250 scarves and hats. In 2010, she doubled her production to 500. Last year, her goal at 98 years old was to actually knit 1,000 scarves for the soldiers, and she did that. This woman was larger than life, and she left her mark wherever she went. She will forever be in our hearts and deeply missed. The viewing is on Monday, February 12th, 2011, the Utter McKinley Mortuary in Mission Hills from 5 to 6. The funeral is on Tuesday, February 21st at 11 a.m. at St. John's in Mission Cemetery in Chatsworth as well. So thank you very much. She will always be in our hearts. She was larger than life, and I would ask if we could get all members as well to sign on to that as well.
Any other adjourning motions? Ms. Perry.
And when I saw Paula several months ago, and she was really, I told her what a good daughter she was, so I think it's great that we're all signing on to this. Today, I'd like to adjourn in memory of Pauline Vollmer Hines, who was the second oldest of 9 siblings and was born in Jefferson County, Birmingham, Alabama. She was educated there and received her associate's degree in education from Daniel A. Payne College in Birmingham. She went on to become an active member at St. Matthew AME Church, where she served in many capacities, but was most adept as a soprano with the choir at St. Matthew's. She brought her faith and ministry to Allen AME Church in Mount Vernon, New York, and served as vice chair of their trustee board, pro tem of the Board of Stewards and the Women's Missionary Society and the lay organization. Through these experiences, Pauline's faith in God was strengthened, even in the face of health challenges in her final years. She will be most remembered by those who knew her and her ministry, and she's survived by her 2 sons, Chris and Robert of Mount Vernon, New York, 2 sisters, Edwina Harris and Ossining Harris, 4 brothers, Norris, Reverend Dr. Lincoln Matthew, and Reverend Robert Hines, both of Birmingham, Alabama, along with numerous grandchildren, nieces, and nephews.
All right, any more adjourning motions? Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.